Hi, welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I am talking about my September TBR. So the end of August marks the end of summer book bingo, which means that I am going to be a lot less organized in September. In the past, I have participated in some reading challenges in September, and I may loosely participate in a few as they come up, but overall, I'm not going to be doing that. My brain just kind of needs a break from the same kind of structure that I had from summer book bingo, although I still have a lot of buddy reads planned, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be talking about. Not really going into anything else, so there's not going to be like this massive stack of books, although some of the books are long and there's still a decent amount of books, so I'm assuming I probably won't get a ton more read than this. So starting out, my Patreon is pairing together with Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky and Spaces book club, which is short classics for charity. Since I am pairing with her book club, you are able to access this Patreon read and be able to still be a part of the chat and everything. So the short classic that we have chosen to do together is Fathers and Sons by Ivan Turgenev. And I don't know anything about this plot-wise, but I do know that this book was written in response to a Russian book. I think it's What Is to Be Done. I can't remember the author's name. It starts with a CH, but I think this was written in response to that book. And then Dostoevsky's Demons, which I read earlier this year, was written in response to Fathers and Sons. So all these books were coming out around the same time and we're very much talking to each other. So I'm really, really excited to be reading Fathers and Sons only, about like 6 months after I have finished Demons. So that is really, really exciting. And I'm really looking forward to reading this. Another buddy read that I am reading this with Mitzi Reads and Writes, and then also Courtney Reads. We are reading The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco. And I have a ton of his books that I have just randomly picked up here and there. And I don't know much about any of them except this one, because I think this is probably his most popular and well-known work. And I know that this book is about some monks, and I think it's actually during the 1300s in a Franciscan abbey, and I think that there's a murder that takes place and they're trying to figure out what's going on. So there's a mystery element to it and a plot element, but I know that there's a lot of philosophical discussions as well, which all sounds really up my alley. So I actually heard Christy Lewis and then Victoria from A Musical Bookworm talking about their thoughts about reading this last fall and was like, oh yes, and put it on my radar, and then found it for like $1 at McKay's, and then ended up putting on my classics TBR for this year, which was to, read around the world and read translated works. So this is translated from the Italian, so it will count for that as well. Really looking forward to this one. This one is one of the longer ones for this month. I'm pretty sure it's over 600 pages in my edition, I think. So yeah, so it's a lengthy one, but I'm really, really interested in this one to see how it goes. Another buddy read that also made it onto my 5-star predictions and is a book that has been recommended to me from a patron is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I have had this book on my shelf for years, like several years. I ended up getting from Book Outlet years ago. And my friend Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky and Space highly recommended this to me because she said it's very Dickensian in its feel, but with like magicians and magic, which is really, really interesting and sounds up my alley. So I have been asking my patrons for some suggestions for books, and I did a video for them with some of my bookish buzzwords and anti-buzzwords, and they shared with me recommendations they thought I would like based on that. And so one of the books that was recommended to me from Christy is Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So I will be doing an exclusive like reading vlog with my thoughts as I'm reading this book for my patrons, but I am buddy reading it with my friend Victoria, who is a subscriber, and I just love her to death, and I'm so excited to read this with her. I think it's going to be a really fun experience. It's giant. It is for sure the biggest book that I'm reading this month. I don't even know. Is it over 800 pages? It is. It's like 850 pages. So it's a lot. I have heard great things about this and Piranesi, but usually someone tends to vastly prefer one over the other. And the same friend, Victoria, sent me a copy of Piranesi earlier this year, and it's her favorite book of the year so far. So I'm hoping that this will measure up for her. It's really long, so the length I think just doesn't work as well for some people. Another book club book that I am reading is for my in-person homeschool mom book club, which is so fun. We have chosen to do a mystery for the month of September, and we put out a poll because we were having trouble deciding, and I don't think the official results have been announced yet, but right now what is currently winning on the poll by several votes is Killers of the Flower Moon by David Grann, I think. I don't know if I'm getting that name right, but should be up here. I don't have a physical copy of it yet. I'm waiting for that. This is a nonfiction about one of the FBI's big first cases, and it was an investigation of Native Americans that were being killed, and I think it was over 24 of them, for sure over 20, that ended up being killed. This is actually being turned into a movie that is coming out in October, so we thought it would be fun if this one wins. Like, maybe we will read this book together and then maybe also go see the movie together, which would be really fun. I don't know if we're going to do that or not, but it'd be fun if those two go together. It's possible that something else will win. The other two books that were on the poll would actually be rereads for me. This is the only one on there that I have not currently read. But, you know, I think it sounds really cool and really, really interesting. So I've heard really great things about the same author's book, The Wager, that is like making the rounds on BookTube right now. And that is a nonfiction, I think, about a shipwreck. So his writing is really, really popular, I think. So I'm really hopeful that I will find this like super immersive, because nonfiction can go either way for me. Another book club book that I'm really hoping to get to, but is kind of a little bit more of a potential, this will probably be more of a back burner book, is Christy by Catherine Marshall. So this would be for Kate Howe's Kindred Spirits book club, and I really want to read this one. This one I think is a little bit on the longer end as well. It's almost 500 pages. This, my dad read out loud to me when I was about Claire's age. I think I was like 10 to 12 range. I want to say I was 11, which is how old my daughter is. So I'm really interested to reread this one because I haven't reread it as a teenager or as an adult. So I don't remember a ton about it. I think it's about a young lady though that goes, I want to say she goes to Appalachia, but it may not be Appalachia. She goes somewhere where people are very uneducated to go teach children and teach school there. And that is like the premise of the story as far as I remember. So I'm really hoping to get to this one. Something I'd love to do in September. September is actually my birthday month, and I have in the past done nostalgic reads where I choose to read books that I read in my childhood. And so the idea of reading Christy in September is a wonderful thought to me because it would be very nostalgic. And I do remember my dad reading this to me. I remember the ending scene of this actually, and I remember my dad tearing up because my dad is very emotional, and I remember him crying at the end of this book. And I remember what the last word of the last sentence of the book is, which is so funny that I remember that. There's a lot of details that I don't remember, but it's really surprising to me how much of this I do remember. It's like I can't remember what I did yesterday. I can't remember doctor's appointments, but I can remember a book that my dad read to me that I was really young that I have not reread since. So that will be an interesting endeavor. I'm really hoping to get to this one, but because it's not a buddy read, it's not slated as high as some of the books on this list. Another buddy read that I will have during the month of September is I will be reading The Toll with my friend Dia from Novel Idea. We have read the entire arc of the Scythe trilogy up to this point, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how Neil Shusterman concludes this and wraps this up. I've heard very negative things about The Toll, about people just not really jiving with the ending of this series. So I think I'm okay with even if it doesn't end super satisfactorily for character arcs or plot things. I've been so interested to see how Shusterman explores this world where humans have essentially obtained immortality and how they navigate that, how they navigate having all this knowledge. And then having read Thunderhead, my gosh, what an ending to Thunderhead. If you have read that, then you know it is crazy and not what I saw coming. It's not similar, I don't think, particularly in tone or plot, but it reminded me of Golden Sun from the Red Rising trilogy, of just like a middle book in this trilogy with an end that makes you go like, oh my gosh, what? That's kind of how I felt with Thunderhead. So yeah, so I'm really, really interested to see how he wraps this up. I've been so interested to see his thought process throughout. I've thought it was so interesting. And some of the characters that we didn't focus in as much, where what they were doing and what they were up to in Thunderhead was like so interesting. And I really think that we're going to focus on them more in The Toll. Really hope so, because I think that would be really interesting. And lastly, the last thing I have on here, I'm just going to hold up one thing because I don't really know how much of this I'm going to read. I am continuing my buddy read of Attack on Titan with my friend Christy Lostos Davis in Space, who has already been mentioned about 1 million times in this video. Yes, She and I are reading through Attack on Titan. At the time of filming this video, we have read volume 2 together, but I'm thinking by the time beginning of September hits, or maybe even before the beginning of September hits, I will have read volume 3. So I'm actually holding up volume 4, but we're trying to read a volume-ish a week. And I think that there are weeks that that's not going to happen. That didn't happen last week, but any week that we're able to get together and have like a video chat, we're going to be trying to read a volume of Attack on Titan at that point, so that way we can discuss it when we are already getting together, because we're currently trying to finish watching a K-drama together, and so we'll be able to watch our episode of that together and also discuss Attack on Titan. So I'm not really sure how many volumes we'll get through in the month of September. I would say at least 2, but maybe more, maybe less. We'll see. So those are my plans for the month of September. There's some really, really chunky books on there. So we'll kind of see how that goes. There's actually like, I think 4 books that are over 500 pages, because I think the Toll is pretty long too, even though I don't have a physical copy of it yet. I'm waiting for it to come in from the library. Thunderhead was over 500 pages, so I think that the Toll is too. Christy is, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is, and then also Name of the Rose. So I have some pretty hefty chunkers this month. Anyway, those are my plans for the month of September. I would love to hear from you in the comments below. What are you planning to read in September? Are you participating in any reading challenges? There's so many. There's Shake-tember, there's Shorty September, there is like Series September, and I'm sure that there's so many more. There's always so many amazing challenges going on in the month of September. I think with like this back to school mindset, there's like this, oh, let's read the books, you know, it kind of like goes together. So there's always so many amazing things that are scheduled. So I'd love to hear if you're participating in any read-alongs or readathons, or if there's anything that you were just like so excited to read. What is the book you were most excited to read in the month of September? Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me, and I will see you again next time.